this is the thing about Physical Graffiti. It's not only my favorite Led Zeppelin album, not only in my probably top 5 favorite albums of all time, I consider it the greatest double album ever recorded. There you go. Greatest double album ever recorded. Yeah, I didn't used to think this when I was younger. It was always my favorite Led Zeppelin album, but I never thought it was better than the White Album, but I do now. I think it's better than the White Album. And the White Album's a masterpiece. I love it. It's my favorite Beatles album. But the White Album has 2 songs I'm not crazy about. It's got Revolution 9 and Good Night. They're all right, but really the album ends with Cry Baby Cry for me. This album, I love every goddamn song. Every song on this album I love. It does not hit one wrong note. It's just more consistent, and I can listen to it more than the White Album. And I still listen to this album a lot, and especially if I'm having sex. All right, this is where I'm talking about the sex. I'm going to have a link. Some of you might have read this, some of you didn't. I used to have a Tumblr blog I kept. Like, hardly anyone ever, went there because Tumblr's not a cool scene. What can I say? I tried to make it a cool scene, but it was hard. It was hard to get people involved, Not like YouTube. You people are cooler on YouTube. Anyway, I used to write blog entries, and I wrote an essay about how Physical Graffiti was the best album to have sex to. All Led Zeppelin albums, maybe the exception of In Through the Outdoor, are great albums to have sex to. All right? That's what Mike Damone, right there, Mike Damone knew this, and he talked about it, and famously in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. This brings us to this connection. What's interesting about that movie, and I talk about this in the essay, and I'm going to include a link, as Mick Watkins says, down below will be a link to this essay I wrote. But essentially, here's the thumbnail sketch. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Mike Damone famously says that if you want to get it on with a lady, you should play, Led Zeppelin IV. And then it cuts to a scene where his buddy is driving with a young Jennifer Jason Leigh, and they're driving, and the song Kashmir is playing. It was actually the first time I ever heard that song as a kid. I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They let little kids watch sexy movies like that back in the day, in the 80s. It was a crazy time. I watched this movie on HBO or something, and not only was I titillated by the movie, I heard Kashmir for the first time. I was like, oh my god, that song. Like, even as a kid, I knew that, as a child, I knew that song. There was something special about it. And then my cousin Frankie in Cape May, Jersey, I remember him playing it sometime on the radio, and it hypnotized me. So something, and we'll talk more about Kashmir when we get to Kashmir. But of course, hardcore Led Zeppelin fans know that's not on Led Zeppelin IV. So you're like, what the fuck? He's playing Physical Graffiti. I guess he blew it. I guess Damone's buddy blew it. He's a nerd. He blew it, but he didn't blow it. That's the thing, because when he takes Jennifer Jason Leigh's character back home, she wants to have sex with him. The only reason he doesn't is because he's a nerd that can't close the deal, and he's scared, and he runs off. And then Mike Damone has to do it for him later, because he's an Italian-American. That's the job of Italian-Americans. So Led Zeppelin did their job, The song was the right song. Kashmir got her excited. And it shows that as much as I love Mike Damone, he got it wrong. Physical Graffiti's the album to play. And let me tell you something, this album is pure sex. From the first song, Custard Pie to Sick Again, this whole album just flows and moves like sex, This is the sexiest goddamn rock and roll record ever created, and that's what rock and roll was all about. The term itself was a slang term for sex. And that's one thing I don't like about a lot of modern metal, is they take the sex out of it. You take the sex out of something, you're taking the humanity out of something. Because that spark of excitement is the thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a man or woman. It could be anything. Rob Halford was sensual and sexual towards men. And it added something to the music, Just someone should be getting it on. Someone that's making the music should want to fuck someone else. All right? Because then the music will have an edge. It will have a power to it. And this whole album has the power of that. The edge. Led Zeppelin is fucking you with this album. And they're fucking you good. They're fucking you like gods. This whole album just has that vibe. If you listen to this album, if you kind of time it from Custard Pie and kind of maybe climax around In the Light, that's kind of perfect. And then you kind of chill out with Down by the Seaside a little afterwards. And then 10 Years Gone. And then maybe when the Wantin' song hits, you go in for a second bout, if you got it in you. If you're Italian-American, you definitely will be able to do that. Just saying. And Moby Dick, going back to Moby Dick, listen to the live version of Moby Dick for Foreplay. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to get too explicit here, but I'm just saying that long 20-minute drum solo is very useful if you kind of get into the rhythm of something. Live version of Moby Dick, foreplay, then Physical Graffiti, and, just make sure you got some bottled waters next to you, because you're going to need them, buddy. You're going to need to hydrate afterwards. All that hanky-panky aside, what an amazing album. I think this is the greatest double album ever recorded, and I think it's the second greatest production. Second greatest production. That's right, I said I think Back in Black is the greatest produced album, sonically the best sounding record ever, and I think this is the second best one, and I don't think you could have had Back in Black without this. From the first album on, Jimmy Page, from a production standpoint, has been an innovator, and every album has built on the accomplishments of the last album. This is the zenith, and this is another reason why this is my number one favorite Zeppelin album. The production is so good, and you talk about just modern, heavy. This is heavy. It's bluesy and sexy, but unlike a lot of later metal, again, it's got a swerve, it's got a sexuality to it, but yet it's heavy. This is heavy metal. Sexy, hard rock, heavy metal, rock and roll music. And that's another thing. This is 1975. For one thing, Led Zeppelin recorded their first 4 albums in a 3-year period. They did the first 2 in 69, they did 3 in 70, and then they recorded 4 untitled. They recorded Untitled in 1971. All in a 3-year period. God damn it, who does shit like that? That's how bands used to operate, not anymore. But think about this year, 1975. Okay, Physical Graffiti gets dropped. New double album from Led Zeppelin. And it's goddamn Physical Graffiti. You're a young man, you're a young strapping man in his early 20s. It's 1975. You're driving a Mustang. Badass Boss Mustang. You got this pretty girl next to you. You got like a Farrah Fawcett-like haircut. You got an 8-track. In your car, you've got a custom, 8-track that you got put in your car. And you put an 8-track of Physical Graffiti. That's just new. You just got it this week. And you're driving to the Cineplex. You're driving to the cinema to see Jaws. This new movie called Jaws just came out. All right? You see where I'm going with this? This is real. It's not fantasy. This was once reality. In 1975, dudes everywhere were driving cool cars, listening to Physical Graffiti, driving to see Jaws. And then they fucked their date afterwards. And they probably did it to this album. That was once a world that was created by better people than us. Yeah, I'll say it. Better people than us, a better generation, created a world that had fucking Jaws and Physical Graffiti in the same goddamn year. Come on, people. We gotta step up our game. Come on, I'm calling all of you out there, let's step it up a bit. Come on. This Mickey Mouse bullshit that passes for culture these days? Come on. Fucking driving to see Jaws while Physical Graffiti's playing. You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right. It was a better world. Custard Pie, it's funky and heavy at the same time. I love it when shit's funky and heavy at the same time. Understated opener, actually. When you think about some of the other songs that are on this album, this is kind of like, this is a confident opener, all right? It's just a confident opener. It's like, hey, we don't have to, because it's a sex album, they don't want to shoot their load too fast. They're like, we're going to build up to it. We're just going to give you something kind of funky and rocking, but we're going to keep working. We're working towards something. The Rover, amazing song. Love The Rover. God, that beginning with the drum beat and then that guitar, that goddamn guitar, that sneaky, sexy guitar Jimmy Page's. And all the cool little chords and progression of the song. I love The Rover. Badass. In My Time of Dying. God damn. That performance at Earls Court, 1975, touring for this album, by the way. Goddamn, watch that Earls Court 1975 video where Jimmy Page is in the dragon outfit. Fucking that shit he's doing during In My Time of Dying, it's next level. It's the greatest live performance in rock and roll history, in my opinion. That's right, next level. And I feel like the band knew it too at the time. Like Jimmy Page is fucking walking around with that fucking dragon outfit, acting like, yeah, this is the best. It's never getting better than this. Cast a spell on everyone. But even on the goddamn album, listen, that guitar sound and the way when it goes into those jagged, crazy fucking solos, listen to that shit. That's next level. Fucking the devil's in this fucking motherfucker. And it's 11 minutes and 4 seconds. Never gets boring. Never gets boring. It's an epic blues masterpiece. One of the greatest songs ever written. And they're just warming up. Houses of the Holy, a great song that should have been on Houses of the Holy, but hell, it works good here. Trampled Underfoot, better than the Crunge Again. Funky kind of James Brown groove to it, a little disco-y. I love it. I love Trampled Underfoot. And then Kashmir, perfectly placed on the album. The centerpiece, masterpiece. And I gotta say, unlike Stairway to Heaven, where there is burnout factor, like that song, even though I love it and I think it's a beautiful song, it does not move me the way it used to move me. I tell you, Kashmir, for whatever weird reason, as many times have I heard this, and I think this is probably the Zeppelin song you hear the second most after Stairway to Heaven, no burnout factor. After all these years, since hearing this song as a little kid, hearing it for the first time as a child, this song still has that power as soon as it hits, and I just love the way it just comes on. Just comes on and it's instantly Kashmir in all its glory. It's got power. It's just got power. There's something unearthly about it. The sound of the guitar, the subtle but concentrated power of the orchestra on it, and just how everything's playing it together and Plant's vocals, and it's just mystical. It's a mystical, magical, darkly beautiful masterpiece. I know I've said the word masterpiece a lot, but god damn it, it's not my fault that Led Zeppelin recorded a lot of masterpieces. And God, how many songs built on what Kashmir did? I love Ronnie James Dio, but like Ronnie James Dio would not have a career if it wasn't for the song Kashmir. This song has been so emulated, and it was so unique. There was nothing like this before 1975. Then we get to side 3, In the Light. This is a song I wasn't so into when I was younger. But man, I love it now. I love it. I think this might be the most sinister song, deceptively sinister, that Led Zeppelin ever wrote. But also their most positive and hopeful at the same time. It's weird because you listen to this, it comes on creepy and it hits that dark part, that dark verse, and it's really dark and like doom metal. But then it's like this beautiful, spiritual, uplifting song in the chorus. You know, it totally shifts mood, and it does it so seamlessly and organically. True masters of the art form that could pull off such a shift, and it's not jarring. You have to embrace both the light and the dark. It's like a total yin-yang song, and that's In the Light. It's like you have to do all this dark hedonistic stuff and embrace the evil side. You do it so you have a richer and deeper understanding of the dawn, of the sun, of the bright side. Pipes of Pan. You go through the darkness and then it leads you to the dawn. There's something very rich and spiritual about the song. It ain't bullshit, my friend. Real art created by real artists. It also serves a very important role in the album because how do you follow Kashmir? In fact, I don't think any song could have followed Kashmir but In the Light. Especially if you listen to this like as a digital file, as a CD. Even though on vinyl, Kashmir ended the first record. When you listen to it as a digital file, which makes me think that Jimmy Page was seeing like the future, the way it goes into In the Light, it's perfect, you know, and they both have this Eastern vibe. So they segue into each other perfect. After the bombast and the glory of Kashmir, In the Light is this darker, more subtle song that kind of gets under your skin. It's the perfect way to continue the album and to keep things going and flowing after Kashmir. Braun, You're All, you know, obviously some outtake from Untitled or 3, I'm guessing. Great song. They had enough new material that they recorded for this album that filled 3 sides of the record, but they didn't have 4 sides, so that's why they included some older tracks, unused tracks from some of the prior albums. And man, but they all flow perfectly. Like, it doesn't sound like a hodgepodge or like Frankenstein album. All these, even the older songs, they flow perfectly with the newer recorded songs. And some of these songs, you wonder, like, why wasn't Down by the Seaside, like, on for Houses of the Holy? God damn, is that an amazing song. That's a gem on this album. One of the unsung gems. One of my favorite songs, Down by the Seaside. God, and so, talk about the artistry of Zeppelin. This is a song, who else could make a song like this? It's just so unique. It's got pop, it's rock and roll, the way it flows and organically, it picks up and gets more hard rocking, but then goes back to the wistful beauty. It's on another level. This is on a whole other level. Love Down by the Seaside. And then 10 Years Gone. Oh my god damn it. Forget about it. 10 Years Gone. If you want to count this as a ballad, if you consider this a ballad, this is the greatest ballad Led Zeppelin ever did. Although, I don't know. I mean, it's more than a ballad. It's this dark, epic, wistful, beautiful masterpiece. Yeah, I'm a broken record. Well, I'm sorry that I can say that for a lot of these songs. 10 Years Gone is one of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs. I think, I'm thinking now, I'm actually going with this is my favorite song on the album. Yeah, 10 Years Gone, I think, is my favorite song on Physical Graffiti. Hell, I guess, yeah, that's probably my favorite Zeppelin song. Yeah, I never really thought about it. I keep switching around. I love so many songs. But yeah, I'm going with 10 Years Gone. Hey, as much as I love Stairway to Heaven, this is on another level. To me, they took their game to a whole other level with this song. It's dark and magical and beautiful. God, beautiful. I get chills just thinking about this song. The guitar lines, the way it builds, Plant's vocals, everything. The drums, the power, the pageantry. 10 Years Gone. Masterpiece. Masterpiece. Night Flight, great little rockin' tune, very catchy. I like it. The Wanting song, another one of my favorite tracks. Heavy. And talk about innovative. Come on. That influenced heavy metal and fucking groove metal. That's like groove metal right there. That's like Pantera type shit. And hip hop and just the hits and the breaks. But then it goes into this jazzy part. It's a little jazzy. It's like jazzy hard rock and does it with such nimble dexterity. Come on, who's operating on this level? Come on. It's a whole other level. No other band could top this. Boogie of Stew, cool little rock and roll ditty. Black Country Woman, little folky ditty. Those are probably the two weakest songs on the album, but I still like them. And at this point, we're kind of wrapping up, so it's all right. And Sick Again, which I love. I think it's a great way to end this album. It's a little like the ocean on Houses of Holy. Let's just end this masterpiece on just a good old-fashioned fucking hard rocker. Again, sounds like what AC/DC would do in a couple years, but they're doing it right here, That power, AC/DC and Priest and a lot of those bands, and Motley Crue, it's all here on like Sick Again, man. Just listen to that. I love Sick Again. I love Physical Graffiti. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. My favorite Led Zeppelin album, my favorite double album, in my top 5 favorite albums, period. Goddamn masterpiece, the peak of their illustrious career, a masterpiece created by artists of the highest caliber.